Hey guys, it's me again, and Sherlock. Hey buddy. Um, in this video, I'm going to be talking about hypervigilance and paranoia. These are two side effects of PTSD, and they are very long lasting and affect a survivor an extreme amount in everyday life. What is hypervigilance? According to BrainWorksNeurotherapy.com, it is a heightened state of awareness that is part of the flight or fight response. Hey buddy. Um, Sorry, I missed him. This state is akin to being locked in permanent battle stations. Brain resources are on constant alert, causing inappropriate or even aggressive reactions in everyday life. People vary in proneness to anxiety. This is partly due to genetics, but it is more so related to their environment. A combination of proneness to anxiety and a heightened sense of vulnerability causes a person to be hyper aware of their surroundings, especially if the situation is new, relatively familiar, or potentially intimidating. What is the process of hypervigilance? Ow. HealthCentral.com states that it involves a rapid scan of the situation, which then narrows to a highly focused level of attention if a potential threat is spotted. The threat level rapidly takes on a sharper and more defined quality and signals a change in behavior. The person may find, ow, you dick. Sorry. Let me find my spot again. The person may find a reason to escape or avoid the threat. If this is not possible, they may remain in a state of high arousal and attentiveness, in which coping behaviors may result. This may sound rather complicated, but I'll give you an example of my own experience to help make it simpler. So, when I walk into a classroom that I've not been in, or I've only been in a few times before, I automatically check out the entire room and take a mental note of where people are in relation to me, and I find the quickest escape route, searching for possible hiding spots, and then to determine who, if anyone, could be a potential threat. If I feel that someone is a potential threat, it's like time slows down. They come into sharper focus, and I attempt to judge what their next action will be. I'll take the route walking into the classroom that keeps me as far as possible from said threat, and I attempt to sit as far as away from them as possible. If that is not possible, I'll sit as close to the back corner of the room as I can so that they won't catch me off guard. This all happens within a matter of a minute or so. It's quite exhausting. But as they say, old habits die hard. What happens when you're in a state of hypervigilance? Physically, you may start sweating, your heart rate increases, and your breathing may become shallow and quicken. Emotionally, you'll use a variety of behaviors that make you feel more secure, like petting my cat. Just kidding. But really, yeah, it does. Whether it be carrying a knife or a weapon at all times, like I did and still do, or avoiding situations where people sit behind you, like I still do, being sensitive to sounds, which I am, or being sensitive to touch, especially when it's unexpected. A couple of days ago, somebody at work came up and slapped me on the back, and holy shit, I just about damn near jumped out of my skin. My anxiety just went through the roof, and my breathing went ragged until I forced myself to calm the hell down and start actually breathing. Emotionally, we will seek out behaviors that are comforting to us. Oh, let's see. I just lost my train of thought. Which could be carrying a weapon, like I said before, or avoiding situations where people sit behind you, which I also mentioned before, or just being hypersensitive to sounds, especially at night. And then, therefore, we develop anxiety-induced paranoia, or not paranoia. Well, I guess we do, but more so insomnia. Um, At one point in time, I had carried brass knuckles on me wherever I went, including work. Uh, However, I figured out that was a felony, and so I decided to stop. Yeah. I still hate when people sit behind me, and I'm still pretty sensitive to noises at night, but now it's more so sudden, loud noises. Um, so I generally, for the most part, sleep better, which is nice. Except for the night terrors. Night terrors kind of suck. I like my sleep. I don't ever seem to get enough, you know? So, I think that about covers hypervigilance. So, now I'm going to talk about paranoia a little bit. Paranoia really has two different definitions, but in the context I'm using it in, it's defined by i.word.com as a tendency on the part of an individual or group towards an excessive or an irrational suspiciousness and distrustfulness of others. If you're curious about the other definition, it's a mental health disorder that's defined by delusions of grandeur or persecution, and may or may not be accompanied with hallucinations. Thankfully, I don't have that problem, I think. Just kidding. I don't. Don't worry. So, back to the first definition. Why do we become paranoid? Because sometimes Sherlock likes to bite me. Well, I don't think anyone can be assaulted sexually, physically, even mentally, honestly, and walk away not being somewhat distrustful or suspicious of people or a person in general. When paranoia and hypervigilance combine, they create a human being that is constantly on high alert, physically, mentally, emotionally. For me, this impacted my work, my school, my relationships with other people a huge amount. And it has been a very, very long, rocky road to get to where I am now. Random side note that actually does kind of relate to the topic at hand. The flip side of hypervigilance is disassociation, which I talked about in an earlier video. If you don't remember, or if you haven't watched it, probably should, because it's kind of cool, like me and my cat. So, bottom line, I've had an extremely hard time getting myself to the point where I'm able to trust again. Given the fact that my perpetrator was male, I tend to trust females far more than I do men. Although I do have a few close friends and father figures in my life that I trust more than most men. So, this is getting to be a really, really long video, and I'm going to stop here. And Sherlock just wants me to pet him, so yeah. If you have any topics that you want me to talk about, or something that you'd be interested in, please send them my way. If you haven't noticed, this is where I made my first video, aka my apartment. For some reason or other, I've always been somewhere else since I've made that first video. Random side fact you probably don't care about, but, you know, whatever. Say hi, buddy. Meow, meow. Alright, peace out.